Thank you so much. So yeah, that is the topic of our session today, the importance of sustainable products in the climate debate. We are really delighted to have you here today, and we also know it's now 5 p.m. So we heard a lot of sessions today. So it's we are really happy that a few from us here and not in the other room, so thank you for that. Short to ourselves, my dear colleague Natalie Otterbach, she's currently working on her doctor thesis on the topic of circular economy, and I'm Ann-Sophie Hertler. I'm responsible for the climate management for the Wurth group. And first, we would like to give you a brief introduction of the Wurth Germany, and afterwards we would like to get you a status report about our greenhouse gases from scope 1, 2 and 3, and also to get you an outlook about the opportunity to reduce the greenhouse gases through circular economy. So let's start with Wurth Germany. So Wurth Germany is part of the Wurth group, and the Wurth Germany company is the oldest one. It's founded in 1945, and so yes, and everything started with a screw. And today, the Wurth Germany is the global market leader, operates in wholesales and the manufacturing of fastening and assembly. And if we have a look on the slide, you can see that we have a revenue from around 2.8 billion. We have only in Germany more than 580 branches, and we have a bit more than 7,500 employees in our company, and we have a lot of different products. So we have more than 100,025 different products in our range, and that is a lot. You can see on the picture a small selection of our portfolio. And for us, it is really necessary that we don't want just to talk about sustainability. We really want to work on it, and that is the reason that we have one of our 7 targets, company targets, is sustainability. And so we have also to report on our management director. And here you can see a QR code to our national sustainability report. Later on the round tables, we have also some you can have a look into, because today it's not the time to talk about all the topics in the sustainability report. We publish every 2 years a new one with the climate analysis, also what happened and the social aspects and everything like that. This year we also published our first one from the Wurth group. If you want, we have it later also on our table. Okay, so let's start with the climate topic. So here's our slide. I think you're really familiar with the scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions. We have just a little bit different picture of it and some cute clouds. So the red ones are scope 1 and 2, and the blue one is the up and downstream from scope 3. And if we have a look in the scope 1 and 2, then we have here our graph where you can see that more than 60% from our CO2 emissions are coming from the mobility part, and 36% is from the heating. And in total, we have more than 38,000 tons of emissions from the Wurth Germany group. And it makes absolutely sense, because if we have a look from our business model, we have to go to our customers. We are on the road. So the half of our employees really daily on the road. So it makes sense that we have a high mobility impact, or that the mobility has a high impact in our climate analysis. And there's no electricity because we already changed to green electricity. If we have now look, what are our next steps to reduce the scope 1 and 2 emission, it is really to get more transparency. We are able to calculate the scope 1 and 2, but now is the next target. I told you we have more than 580 branches all over Germany. Now we have to figure out how can we reduce the CO2 emissions, because as a short example, our natural gas, the half of it is in our main site, and the other half of it, so the other 50%, are on the branches. So now we have to figure out in a real way how can we do that, because some of them are our own and the other ones are rent. So that is not a reason to get a really good transparency to make really the difference in the end. The next point is also, I think the most of the companies do it already, to build photovoltaic, also have a look if there are some opportunities with PAA also on site, and so that's also a way for us. And the topic of mobility, and here's also the point to create awareness that all the employees outside, that they want to drive with an e-car, that they really say, okay, we can do that. And that is the reason that we have to create awareness, that we support the charging station at home, and also to support the charging on our branches all over Germany. So that is now our next step from scope 1 and 2 to have a really impact on it. If we have a look for scope 3, it's for us also, it's not a new topic, but now we go really in a deep dive in the whole company. So that was the reason that we did an appointment with all the necessary departments to be really close in a conversation with them, because they have to understand the topic from the scope 3, because they are the relevant persons who create new processes to get the information. For that, they have to get the topic, and also they are later the responsible, or they have later the responsibility to reduce and to have the action on it. So that is the reason that they have really to understand the insights from all the categories. As an example, we had a conversation with the product management, and so from our side, from sustainability, from our sustainability team, we had this appointment, and then we explain how big is the footprint from metal, how big is the footprint from wood, that they get a feeling what we purchased with our products, what we put into the company. And that was our first step. And so we did it with all the other topics to get the awareness, and that they see, okay, today we have this kind of database, sometimes not the best one, and some of the categories it's okay, so we can work with that. But they have also to see what increase in the next years, so where we have to, which kind of journey we have to do to get a better database. And after that, we calculate to the first time our scope 3 emissions. And here it was really interesting, because if you have a look in published graphs and something like that, then you see normally the scopes 1 and 2 is around 15 to 20%. And then we calculated with the database we have, and we get 96% of our emissions are in the scope 3, and just scope 1 and 2 are 4%. And that was for us like, okay, we didn't expect it that scope 3 will be so high. And the point is, yes, we have a manufacturing, but we have the distribution. So we sell, or we purchase most of the products we distribute. And after that, for us was really interesting to see, okay, where is the most impact? So that was the reason that we had a deep dive into all the different analyses we did in the scope 3 calculation. And then we get that we have just 2 topics. The own topic is the scope 3.1, so the purchased goods, and the other one is the point 3.11, the using phase from our customers. As an example, we have also products like a chainsaw, because we have the fuel, and also all our power tools. And so that is the main point we sell, so we have to calculate it. And that was for us a bit surprising that it's so high, because we expected 85% or more, 80, 87, something like that, but not 96. Okay, so now it's really for us, what is our journey on scope 3? Here's the same, that we have to create a better database. So today we have something like a hybrid approach. So we have some spend-based, we need, from some products we have the material data, and we can directly include it into the scope 3.1. But for that we have to increase it together and to figure out, that's a journey. It's not a journey from 1 year or 2 years, that's a journey for the next years, how we can get in the future real data. Also how it works with multi-sourcing, because maybe I get a real data from one supplier, but then on the other hand, I have another supplier with other database. That will be also really interesting for us. How can we handle situations like that? And we are not the only company with this question, so that will be really interesting. The other point is we can't do that alone. So we have to be, and we have to do it together with our suppliers, with the partners, and also with the customers, because we can just do it together. And here's also the point, we have to learn from each other, because there are so many other companies outside there. They did so much and we can learn from them. They also can learn sometimes from us, and that is the reason that we have to come more together, that we have to talk really about the worst points and also the good points. What is working in which company, and why does it work, and why does it not working? To do not the same mistake, because it is not a USP, sustainability. It's more like we have to do that if we want to have a really impact on our climate and or on the climate reduction. And the next point is also the point with we have to get an action, so that we have to reduce along the entire life cycle. And that is now again the point, to work together with our suppliers, with our customers, to get back some materials and to create new processes. And it's just working if we trust each other and if we work together. And for me, the next and last point for us, what is really necessary in the outlook for Scope 3 is a holistic approach. Today, we all have a focus just on climate, but we also have to make it bigger, to have a look on the water footprint, to have a look on our resources, how long they are available. And so we have to make it directly from the approach as a holistic approach, and not just climate. And for that, we need all the experts on one table. And I just say the resources are so necessary for us. And that's the reason why we want to talk with you about the circular economy. Because if we have a look for our planet, we get all the raw materials from our planet. And today we have a linear system. So we take it out from the earth, from the planet, then we use it. We make some products out of it, and we use it for 2 years, for 1 year, maybe sometimes for 20 years. But after the using time, we threw it away. And then this kind of materials or raw materials, they are not anymore available for us. And that is the reason that we have to change the completely system how we work into the circular economy. So we have really we still will take something from our earth and, to produce. But we have to get all the materials back to close the loop and to not produce new waste. And so it sounds now really simple, and we all know that will be a really hard way for us. And I think Natalie is really excited to get you a deep dive into how long some products or raw materials are available, and how does it work with the climate or the greenhouse gases and the circular economy.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into detail, because these are always estimations. But what is important is that that our resources are becoming scarce, as my colleague just indicated. And no matter if it's in 5 years, or in 50 years, we need to act now, because we need some time to adapt and find new solutions. And this is also important for the climate debate, because we need those raw materials for the renewable energy technologies on the one hand side, but also on the other side, we see here that 45%, so almost half of the global emissions, are associated with the making of the products. So we can reduce the energy demand for the production, but if we look at the circular economy, we can keep those 45% of the emissions in the loop. And there are several options how to implement a circular economy. For example, material recirculation, also material efficiency to increase it, and circular business models. And as we can see here, this is a figure for Europe, a scenario where they estimated the climate change reduction potential for the 4 most important materials when looking at climate emissions. These are steel, plastics, aluminium, and cement. And we can see that they identified material recirculation as one very important possibility to decrease emissions. And why is this the case? Because as we already have seen, there's a huge amount of energy and emissions produced if we use primary raw materials. And we can see here the difference between primary and secondary materials, and we can see that there's a huge gap in the material footprint. Why is this the case, or how is this developing? Probably in the future. We need to consider that these numbers are not static. So the emissions associated with 1 kilogram of a material are not, these are not static numbers. They depend on several factors, such as the production route, the energy source used to produce the material, and so on. And also material-specific factors are important, such as the ore grade or the oil pressure when thinking of primary materials. And the thing is, in the future, the mining efficiency is most likely to decrease because the most efficient, most economic mines are, of course, already exploited. So maybe there's some we haven't detected yet, but in general, in the future, the mining efficiency is most likely to decrease. This results in a higher energy intensity and therefore higher greenhouse gas emissions that will be related to primary raw materials. Whereas on the other side, recycling efficiency is most likely to increase as it gets more important and we can put more scientific efforts into the topic and increase the effort to collect the materials and therefore also benefit from economies of scale. And therefore, in general, the energy intensity is assumed to be in a decrease, and therefore also the greenhouse gas emissions that are related to secondary materials. Okay, we know now that secondary materials are very important in the climate debate, but how to prioritize the materials to recirculate? If I'm a company with only a very small product portfolio and only few materials within these products, then it might be a good option, or it's always a good option to conduct an in-depth life cycle assessment, of course. However, as Ann-Sophie already mentioned, Wurth has more than 125,000 different products. And as you can see here again, there's a huge heterogeneity within this product portfolio. We have screws, we have power tools, we have chemical agents, and so on. So where to start? And we decided, therefore, and also for other reasons, to focus on the topic of raw material criticality assessments. And basically, what are raw material criticality assessments? They follow two goals. On the one hand side, first, we want to identify the raw materials of strategic importance for the company. And the second step, we want to identify the risk mitigation measures that are most effective to decrease the risks related to those important raw materials. And if we are able to establish such a methodology, we then have a sound decision-making basis for material recirculation. We know then which materials we should prioritize. To dig a little bit deeper into this topic, what are the raw materials of strategic importance? How do we define them? How do we determine them? It's you as a company first determine different dimensions that you want to consider. In our case, we said, okay, it is important whether our raw materials are associated with supply risks, of course, because if they are not available in the future anymore, or if the price of them will increase tremendously, we need to have an eye on these raw materials. But it's also very important if high environmental impacts are associated with this raw material or social impacts. And for our today's discussion, of course, the environmental dimension is most important. Within this dimension, we then consider whether there's, for example, a high greenhouse gas emission related to the raw material. And if this is the case or other environmental impact categories, then we have to take a closer look at this raw material. The second step and goal, as I mentioned, of raw material criticality assessment is the topic of risk mitigation. And here we also have different options, different possibilities to tackle those risks, depending also on the dimension we focus on. So for supply risks in the short term, it might be a good option to increase stockpiling, to focus on longer term contracts, and to consider also price hedging for the materials considered of high concern. However, this will not help in the long term, and this will not help for our environmental and social risks. So the medium term, we also have the possibility to focus on a multi-supplier strategy to reduce the supply risks and focus on material substitution. But as we're today talking about the environmental dimension, the long-term perspective is most important. And this is clearly related to the topic of circular economy. So we need to design our products in a circular way, consider repair, refurbishment, reuse, recycling, reverse logistics, such aspects to really get back and ensure a high quality recycling of our products, or to prolong the lifetime within the products. And there are several options to enable the material recirculation. We basically distinguish between the material component and the product system perspective. If we think of the materials in a first step in the product development, then we should focus on, of course, secondary materials or renewable materials. Those materials should also be reusable or degradable, depending on whether they are recycled or renewable. And of course, the variety of materials needs to reduce to enhance recycling possibilities. If we take a look at the components, further aspects are getting important, such as modularity, upgradability, providing upgrades to the customers, separability. And if we take the huge perspective and consider product systems, then take-back processes are aspects that we need to consider for our products, or also to make collaboration to enforce take-back processes if there are no efficient take-back processes at the moment in general available for those materials. Third aspect, reuse of components, products, and of course, new business models. For example, product as a service that can ensure that you are still the owner of your product and have the power to take it back at the end of its life cycle, and therefore are able to ensure high grade recycling or reuse of the product. However, circularity is not the final goal. It's rather a way to become sustainable. And that's why our colleagues also determined other categories within a guideline for our product development. They distinguish between the topic of climate, environmentally friendly, reuse friendly, low emissions, and the aspect of social and fairness is considered rather as a general aspect for the whole company, so this is not a product-specific aspect. And within these four categories, we also have some assessment criteria. But if we communicate that our products are sustainable, this is highly linked to external certifications to ensure that it's really not a subjective view, and that we are not facing the risk of greenwashing. And if at least two of those categories are fulfilled, then the products belong to our eco line. And this is also printed on the products to enable that our customers who are interested in sustainable products, that they can focus on them. At almost the end of our presentation, I want to show two examples regarding the raw materials stream of steel. Here we have the Varifix mounting race system. This can be used for heating installations, electricity installations, pipes, and so on. And on the other side, the RC shelving system, which is an efficient storage management that provides for its customers for fastening materials, but also chemicals and so on. And here we have taken those two product systems as kind of a pilot test to identify, okay, what is their circularity, what does the circularity currently look like, what can we learn, what can we improve, and to really get a holistic view, we certified them externally by the cradle-to-cradle standard, which does not only look at material health and circularity, but also on other aspects such as social aspects and water consumption and so on and so on. And for the plastic raw material stream, we also have this example brought for today. It's a packaging for our cutting tools. And at the beginning, we thought, okay, maybe we can switch to cardboard or another renewable material. But then we said, okay, this packaging is permanent packaging for the tools during the whole lifetime, and therefore we need to stick to plastics at the moment. However, we want to increase this recycling material, and we managed together with our supplier. So this is the nice thing, or my personal highlight of this example, that it is a joint development between Wurth and its supplier Rose Plastics to increase the recycling content to 100%, and it's post-consumer recycled and also recyclable at the end of its life, and also the label is made of recycled materials. And this, basically refers to our take-home message for today. We would like to stress that there is no isolated circular economy, so let's focus on collaborations and identify synergies. And there's no net zero without circular economy, so we're looking forward to the roundtable discussions afterwards, and maybe we also find today some synergies and possibilities to collaborate in this field. Thank you very much.